Morning everybody, hope you can hear me. Here we're out in the garden. Charles is, well, I'd like to say mowing the grass, but I think that's a euphemism for digging it up and chewing it with the lawnmower. But I thought that actually this is much more about where we are today. That I know I spoke last week about Charles's brother's death and the other deaths that we've had from close friends to us. But actually we've been looking back this week and we've been realising how God has prepared us for such a time as this. So, you know, the biggest tragedy that ever happened to us was our eldest son Dan dying. And when that's happened, you can fall off a planet, really. You can fall off a planet. I did. I've said I've fallen off a planet. Nothing prepares you. No mindset. No, previous thoughts. Nothing can help then, apart from what you're experiencing every day. There's nothing that can prepare you. There's no plan to prepare for somebody's death. But actually, once you have experienced something so dramatic and so shocking, actually what I realise now is that even in that time, we were being prepared for today. What's happening now with, people falling to the left, to the right. Charles's dad is, the funeral. It was really, it was very tragic. I couldn't go because there was only 10 people allowed at the funeral in Belgium, and I think they're doing it everywhere now. And it was, I just felt it was right that my brother-in-law's husband should have his family and friends to support him, and it not be all about our side of the family. So I didn't go, and I feel like, again, that was a thing. I could have got really offended that I didn't, but it was my choice, and it was fine. And I can choose. The one thing I can choose at the moment is how I approach everything, and I can be sad, but at the same time, for me, knowing that death has lost its sting, that I know that the people who I'm losing are going to be confronted with a choice when they die, and most of them have already chosen God, and so therefore they're not going into a terrible place, they're going to a wonderful place, they're going to somewhere that's way better than here, and how can I be sad for them? I can be sad for us, and that's how we deal with this differently at this time. But we were looking back as well about how we've been prepared in other ways. So, when we moved here, we've been able to, those of you who watched my plant growing videos last year, we've had masses of potatoes and fruit and veg from the garden in the short time we've been here. And then others of you who've been listening to me, well, we haven't got rabbits, but rabbit on, we've got chickens. So without us being known, without us knowing, we've been prepared for such a time as this. So we've got chickens, and we're able to offer the chicken eggs to all our friends locally. Well, I say all, not all of them, but you know, a few. We get about 5 or 6 eggs a day. We're able to, you know, get in contact with people and say, is there something that we can give you? We've got eggs. Do you want them? And not ask for anything in return. That's not what we're thinking about. But wow, we've got fresh eggs every day. Also about how, you know, living here. Oh my word! You know, we just sit in the morning when we're having our first cup of coffee, and just sit, basically looking out the window at all the birds and nature. And now there's nobody here to share it with. They're all, you know, the birds are going mad. We've had loads of deer, and yeah, where there's no human scent, I think everything gets cleared up quickly. As you can see, I'm laying up for this year's veg. I've been seeding, and we've just been preparing. I'm preparing, and been prepared. And I think, you know, some of you know that Charles is doing videos as well, and so his group have started a rapid response team for CEOs. So if you guys know any CEOs who need some help right now, honestly, these guys are doing an amazing job. They're online a couple of times a week, in the morning and in the evening, and they're getting other CEOs to come and talk about, you know, particular problems that we're seeing in businesses right now. And we're planning to ramp that up and do more of that. So please, if you know somebody who's struggling, they're in business, whether they're a sole trader or they're running a company, or, you know, we've got several employees, so, you know, we're also dealing with these sorts of issues. But, you know, when we look at our finances, oh my word, how God has prepared us. So, you know, we've been investing in the business to put it online. Does that make such a difference? I think also been doing a lot of meditating and finding ways to get around my miserable mindset. You know, that I spent years first thing in the morning laying in bed just thinking, what on earth am I got nothing to get up for? And so actually to get out of bed was such a struggle. But I feel now that, well, not just now, but, you know, over the past few years, these things have changed. But every so often, tell you what, I could go back into that. So I think, you know, what I'm saying is that, and we've been following this and teaching this thing called VUCA to all our CEOs. So it's about volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Ambiguity, that's the last one. And we've been saying to them about how, you know, actually we can change that. And instead of it being, and it's a military term, it's something that the army came up with, I believe, about what happens when you get on a battlefield. And boy, does this feel a bit like a battlefield, doesn't it? You know, every day it feels like we're going to fight for something, and even if it's just to survive at times. So we've been getting them to say, okay, if this volatility is actually something that is constant, and we're just pretending by control means that it's not, the world isn't volatile, then, you know, we can't blame other people, because this situation really is so volatile. Things are changing moment by moment, day by day. Yeah, it's not even really settling down, even if people want to. Well, you can tell when they think it's settling down because they're starting to complain a lot, but and say that they could do it better. But actually, having the humility to say, none of us know what's going on here. No nation's cracked it. Nobody knows the answer. But what we do have is a vision that human beings are amazing. That we have this understanding that, you know, you and I are extraordinary. We're so powerful. And yet, if we just sit back and let everything happen, then we're not. We are passive and, you know, become slaves in one way. So I would really challenge you, what can you look back on? Rather than say, oh, these times are terrible, you know, and my family's dealing with that, you know. My granddaughter rang me and said, you know, how upset and depressed she is, and how it would be so easy to just never want to go out again because there's so much to be afraid of. And I can really empathise with that feeling. I mean, we're actually locked in, as I probably said. But what have you done, or what has happened to you in the past that is a tool for today? What have you got in your hand? So I often say, women who've given birth, oh my word, you know how to deal with massive uncertainty and volatility. You've got pain beyond pain to deal with, and we know it's going to pass when we have a baby. It may not feel like it, but we know that if you've had that experience, then I would go back into it. Remember, it was terrible. It came on very suddenly, probably, and you didn't know what was going to happen, but there were other people around you who did. I used to be a midwife, so I know that these things, there's a process. So let's just remember that we're not alone in this. There are other people who've gone through it before, other people are going through it now. So what can you look back in your past? Have you had some sort of experience that can tell you today, inform something about how you don't look at this in a negative and depressed way, but actually you dig into something that's inside you? Where have you demonstrated in your life even the tiniest amount of determination? So I have a friend who's pretty much shut in, and she realised that actually it's determination that keeps her alive most days. She suffers from agoraphobia and can't bear to go out, but she is determined to survive, and it's that sense of safety and survival that's kept her in and trained her for such a time as this. I was so impressed by that guy, the former astronaut who was on TV the other day. He can help us think about what have we done in the past, what has he done that's demonstrated he could live in isolation pretty much for all that length of time, and his family coped in different ways. So when have you been cut off from people? You survived. You're here today to tell the tale. What are your tales that you can tell? What's the story that you've got to encourage yourself today, to give yourself some sort of glimpse back in the past, to give you a vision for the future, to know that this too will pass? And what you'll be really proud of is how you did it. We'll all have moments. You've seen one of my moments. We all have them. But let's not live there. It is 10 times harder to rebuild yourself if you fall apart than it is to just choose not to fall apart. So guys, don't fall apart this week. Be in touch, send me a private message. I will do my best. I'm getting so many at the moment. I'm finding it a real challenge to respond. And those of you who've asked about coaching and mentoring, I think at the moment all I can say is let's just keep on listening to the videos, and if I can respond to some of your topics on the video, then I will. But at the moment I'm feeling like I've got to dial it down a bit from what I have been doing and look to my own long-term mental and emotional and spiritual health. I'm doing a lot of meditating. I'm remembering that God created me to be a contemplative, which is somebody who lives in a quiet and thoughtful way before God. And I just encourage you guys, there's some amazing Christian music. I keep on sending it to my grandchildren and my children. And oops, it just warned me there was a low battery. So please, blessings to you all. Be in touch. Don't expect a massive return, but I do read them all, and I really am trying to listen and to help and to be there with you, because we're all in it together and we're all going to come out together. And there's more to come, believe me. And if we don't learn how to dig in through this, and as it comes in, let it go out. Don't hang on to the pain. Find things that you can do to get it out of your physical body. So I used to smash crockery against walls. Charity shops are closed right now, so we can't get spare crockery. But something physical, throwing, getting this out, this frustration, because otherwise it just stays in us. So blessings on you all. Think about yourselves and your families and your loved ones and how you have done stuff and survived in the past. We'll get through this together. That's the point. Blessings on you all. Thank you. I'm going back to repurposing my canes from last year. See you soon. Bye.